Today, I will be talking about relationships and happiness with no other than John Gray, the author of the bestseller book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. John is a relationship counselor, lecturer, and author of 25 books on relationships. Hello, John, and very welcome to our Open to Happiness podcast.
I'm really happy to be with you.
Thank you so much. To start with, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How was your journey in life so far? And what's been your relationship with happiness?
Well, I'm 72 years old, so I can't tell you the whole journey, or we won't have time to talk about other things. But as a young man, I was very happy. I had friendly, fun relationships with girls. I liked them a lot. But then I found out from the Beatles that you could get high without crashing. So there's no need to take LSD and those things. So I chose to study with the Maharishi. They'd gone to India to study with the Maharishi of transcendental meditation. It became very, very popular in the 70s. Still is in certain, but just not as wow, Maharishi, and people were learning to meditate. It wasn't a religion theoretically. So I was so inspired at 18, 19 years old. I went off to be with the Maharishi. I became his #1 student in that I was with him for 9 years. I was his personal assistant. When he developed a university, I became the faculty. I developed his teacher training program with him, taught his teacher training program. So I had a whole life with him. And I was a celibate Hindu monk. I basically devoted myself to enlightenment, to happiness, to feeling, want to increase my full potential and be like him, because he had increased his potential, no doubt about it. He was touching the whole world. Little did I know that one day I would be in 40 different countries, a bestseller, but I was naturally inspired by somebody who something was in him, was inside of me, a destiny, a potential that he helped me to awaken through meditation. Then it was time to go out in the world and do my thing, which was to teach relationships, not to teach meditation. Although I'm a master meditator, I also teach classes in it and so forth. But my main focus is, I have parenting, I have dating, I have all these books, health, vitality, fasting. But my main thing is teaching relationships. So I wrote this book after several other books, which were very successful, but nothing like Men Are From Mars. I became very famous teaching how men and women misunderstand each other, and how by better communication skills, we could understand each other better. We could get more of what we wanted and what we needed in relationships. And I'm an example of that. I was married for 34 years, married with my wife, Bonnie. She passed on after a couple of years. Actually, after 3 years, I got married again. Once again, I'm very happy in my relationships. I know how to create happiness in relationships. So that's my main thing I talk about, although I do teach classes in all my different books, but mainly relationship communication skills.
That sounds fantastic. Can you share with us what's been your learnings around men and women, the differences between us? And maybe in a nutshell, what can we learn from you, especially people that maybe haven't read the book yet, or maybe they've read it a long time ago and they don't remember, the essential message?
So if you push that button, I could talk for 8 hours and not stop. So this is going to be an interview. So I'm going to do highlights, like you said, in a nutshell. Yes. The bottom line is, so much of our unhappiness and struggle in life is when we misinterpret reality. So like, let's say I couldn't find my keys to the car. Oh my God, what would happen if I missed the airplane? I missed the airplane. So I like push my thumb like that, which says, you don't know for sure that you can't find your keys. Every time in the past you have found your keys. It's not so bleak. Just go look for them. And so then I calm down, because I'm no longer misinterpreting reality. So that's a big part of happiness, is how we interpret things. And when it comes to relationships, so much of our unhappiness, our suffering, our struggle, our mistrust and lack of appreciation is we don't often understand someone who's very different from us, and we expect them to be the same. When you feel connected to someone, it feels like they're the same. You're my arm, you feel so close. And there's things that men typically do, not all men, but men typically do, that women misinterpret, and things that women typically do that men misinterpret. So now in my books, I've got, in Men Are From Mars, there's 12 major ones. And then another book comes along with another 12 major ones. And another one comes along in dating, 12 major ones. So when you look at the big ones, you suddenly realize that you don't have as many problems because you're more connected. So we'll take maybe 3 today. One, and very briefly, It's very natural for many men when they feel they're working hard and they like to solve their problems. It feels good solving problems. Now, biologically, what's different between a man and a woman is that when men are solving problems, their stress levels go down. When women are solving problems, it doesn't lower their stress. It doesn't increase their stress, or it may increase their stress. This is the difference. Now, why do I say that? Well, one is we have research showing that women in the workplace are twice as stressed as men. And when women come home from the workplace, their stress level doubles, whereas men, it goes down from what it was in the workplace. So this is the scenario today, because biologically, when a man is solving work problems, and there's that we'll call work problems impersonal. I don't bring them home with me, right? It's like I solve problems for people all the time, but they're not my family, they're not my wife, they're not that close to me. So you have personal problems and impersonal problems. Solving impersonal problems produces testosterone. Now, men need to make 10 to 20 times more testosterone, otherwise they're stressed. So when a man is stressed, it's because he's not solving his impersonal problems. Simple as that. And for a woman, she's primarily stressed when you measure when a woman is elevated cortisol, when it doubles, what's happening in her body is her estrogen levels are going down. And women need to make 10 times more estrogen than men do. Men need to make 10 times more testosterone than women do. So whenever a man is stressed, his testosterone levels are going down. And to a certain extent, his estrogen levels have gone up. It's like a seesaw. And when a woman is stressed, her testosterone levels, she's thinking, oh, I have to do this. I have to do this. This problem hasn't been solved. I still need to do this. That's that feeling of overwhelm. So that means she's not solving. She doesn't have time. She doesn't have money. She doesn't have support in order to solve those problems. So she feels stressed. Well, not enough. When you feel not enough, that's only occurs when your estrogen levels are low. And you might even think, well, I don't have enough money. Well, in order to solve all those problems on your male side. But if you actually look in cultures where they don't have nearly the money we have today, the women, if they have love, if they have plenty of time, if they have support, if they have interactions with other women, just that will help raise their estrogen in a non-competitive environment, at least impersonally competitive. What happens is women, when they're stressed, their estrogen is going down, their testosterone is going up. And you can measure this, it's universal. If you have a woman's body, her body's designed to make babies. In order to do that, she has a cycle of hormones changing. I won't go into the whole details of that, but what we basically know is that estrogen is really important for a woman's happiness and well-being. Testosterone is important for a man's. Now, can you just give a woman estrogen and her well-being improves? Maybe a little, but generally not. For a man, just give him testosterone, maybe a little, but after a while, not. It's having the mindset, the actions that raise testosterone, and the rewards that he gets from work. Let's say I'm good at something, but nobody ever pays me, then my testosterone will go down. So there's a lot of dynamics for a man to make testosterone and for a woman to make testosterone. The testosterone is not a major factor in her stress level. It's usually not enough estrogen. So her happiness, what is the mindset? And that's what you teach people a lot, is the mindset and the behaviors that create your happiness. So all I'm pointing out is there's certain behaviors that will produce a lot of estrogen, like shopping, just going shopping, whether you buy anything or not, just looking at having a relationship. Well, I could have that, or I don't have that, or what I do have, a sense of happiness. That's attachment, what I attach to. And, having children is an attachment, a big source. If you have a man in your life, so you don't have to do it all yourself, but without a man raising children, pretty tough.
Sure.
Major stress producer, because it takes a man and a woman to make a baby, right? So get rid of the man and you got to do it all yourself. Anytime you're independent on your own, you tend to be making more testosterone than estrogen, unless you learn new skills to balance your hormones in a relationship. So now I'm going to come to Mars Venus. That's the foundation. And I didn't really know about the hormones when I wrote Men Are From Mars, but what I did is I studied the body's hormone system to explain why the differences that I talk about in Men Are From Mars. So men will typically go to work, and if they're more masculine. Now, today, so many men are feminized. So let's just keep that in mind. We're talking 5 years ago. If your husband, for example, is a construction worker, or he's a lawyer, or, more sort of adversarial jobs. See, typically masculine jobs, if we look historically, are difficult, dangerous, dirty, and disgusting. And we did that because women would love us more. My wife says to me, I'm so glad you're happy to go work and do all that stuff, so I don't have to do all that stuff. And I can do the things I enjoy doing, which is raising children, something she enjoys doing, which is painting, which is reading books, having lunch, cooking meals. She's learning how to cook a new way. Yeah, she doesn't have the pressure of, I have to achieve this goal by a certain time. Now, some women really like that. That's okay. But if they're stressed, they need to balance it with behaviors that are more nurturing to her soul, to others, which would raise her estrogen up. And then she can go out there and take risks and become presidents and work the construction line if she wants. Although you'll see in Norway, which is one of the most socialistic countries on the planet in the Western world, where every government job is equal men and equal women. No matter what the job is, equal men, it's mandated. But if you look at the other jobs that are not government jobs, which is most of the jobs are government because it's a socialist. but if you look at the jobs that aren't government, where it's mandated, actually in Norway, women are most traditional than anywhere else in the Western world. All the nurses are women. You won't see any men nurses. All the drivers are men. All the construction workers are men. So when you get back to these basic jobs, which aren't regulated by the government, women really go towards the traditional female jobs. Men go to the traditional male jobs. And why is that? Because male jobs will produce traditional male jobs make testosterone, and traditional female jobs make estrogen. It's as simple as that.
That's it. Yes.
So and taking hormones can sometimes help. I know for some women, if they have zero hormones, like at menopause, it will happen because there's a shift and her ovaries are no longer making the estrogen, run out of eggs. So now the adrenal gland will make estrogen. It doesn't have to be so high. It just has to be the right balance with estrogen and testosterone, because women actually make a lot of testosterone compared to estrogen. It's just the balance.
Yes.
It's just balance a woman's testosterone with a man's testosterone. Imagine somebody's 10 times taller than you. That's a big, big difference. And men need to make that testosterone. And there's nothing more potent for a man than success, earning his way. If you see men who didn't earn their way to having lots of money and freedom, they tend to be playboys, is what it used to be called. Now they're drug addicts. They've been through rehab several times. They can't stay married. They have addictions. And you'll see this is happening. Most of your really famous men, even though they worked hard to get to where they are, at a certain point, you don't have to work hard. Okay. Once you get to a certain place, if you're like a movie star, you're getting 10 times the reward for your effort. It's so out of balance. You see a Jeff Bezos, he's like another guy working, but suddenly he's making 100 times more than most people get for their results. Or Bill Gates, these people, they all end up in divorce, and what is it? Bill Gates, he ended up going to the pedophile island 38 times, I think it was. And Bezos is out on his yachts with 6 women, just looking like a sleazy guy. These are not men. These are feminized men, but they did work hard. I don't know. I know Gates didn't have to. His parents were rich and he had all these connections. I don't know about Bezos. But if a man earns his way, but even once you get to the top, if now you're just getting paid unbelievably amounts of money, like these CEOs who get paid 100 times more than their workers, this is insane. This is nuts. This is stockbrokers are so rich because they're gambling all the time. That also causes them to become alcoholics, drug addicts. They don't have self-esteem. You have to, particularly for our male side, and women can have a male side, but it's not going to be the side that lowers her stress levels. There's many, many women who are single, who are very, very successful, and they're very, very stressed. Why? Okay, because they don't have relationships that nurture their female side. They do it all themselves. So I have a little saying I say, which is, yes, women, you can do it all. but you're not going to sleep at night. Another one, it just
Very
is
good.
simple as that. You know, that's the reality.
Yes.
So it behooves us to learn our relationship skills that will help women become more feminine and help men become more masculine. And one of those things men naturally used to do, which is take cave time. So that's a Men Are From Mars basic idea, is that men go to work and they come home and they need some time to go to their cave. And if a woman doesn't have a lot of testosterone, she doesn't feel the need for cave time. Cave time is impersonal time, not personal time, impersonal time, where you can relax, yet also stay active, thinking or behaving. It could be going to the gym. It could be driving his car. It could be a hobby, any hobby, golf, for example. It's a time where you're still challenged, but your livelihood is not based upon your success. So there's no stress around it other than the personal stress of trying to hit this little ball into another hole. Very funny, the whole golf game. So, but it's impersonal time. Then he rebuilds his testosterone by challenging himself in an impersonal context to some degree, impersonal, which challenges him, but it doesn't cause any stress because, so what if you lose the golf game, big deal, or a video game, you can start over, nobody's watching. So now that's called cave time. And then his testosterone comes up and now he's ready to go to his female side, which will raise estrogen, which is to be with his wife, his children, or as an artist, do more creative things. So we have within us the need as whole beings to have our masculine side nurtured as a man, and then go to our female side. That's like dessert. That's like extra. And for women, it's the same concept. Be grounded in your feminine hormones, then go over to your male side. Then you can be on both sides at the same time. Well, it's pretty tough when a woman is single and she has to go to work to support herself. So she can't sort of feel the support of a man to help her feel like I don't have to do everything myself. That's the thing that generates estrogen, is to feel I have support. I don't have to do it all myself. And the thing that builds testosterone is I have to do this all by myself. See, when nobody wrote my books for me. I had to do it myself. I got help as well, but I have to do it myself. Anytime it's you do it yourself, that's your male side. Nothing wrong with that for women, but you've got to balance it with I have plenty of support, time, money, energy, all those things. I'm not alone trying to do it myself. So the community becomes very important.
Right.
But if we want to achieve something today, and I really believe, and it takes a village to raise a child, no doubt, but more so today, it takes a husband. Okay, it really does. Because relationships in the past were not built upon romantic feelings. That was called the honeymoon period. It was over. Your parents picked out your partner based upon who could make money, who could be a good provider and take care of her, and so forth. And
it was a partnership, wasn't it?
Yes, it's a partnership. It takes two to raise a child, and a community supports the two. Right now, our community doesn't support the two.
Yes.
A dissatisfied woman will go to her community, complain about her husband, and they say, dump him. Rather than, how about read John Gray's book on how you can learn to ask for support rather than criticize your partner for not giving you enough support.
Yes. Yes.
These are communication skills. So again, if you think that and generally speaking, here's a basic difference between men and women. If a woman is mad at a man, she'll pull away, okay? And she'll become detached. Or she's unhappy with him, she'll pull away. If she doesn't trust him, she'll pull away. If she's not pleased with him, she'll pull back. For a man, if he doesn't trust you or he's mad at you, he'll pull back. But also, if he loves you with all his heart, he'll pull back. He just needs time to pull away. I learned that when I was a child, had sex, teenager having sex. I wasn't really mature enough to be in a relationship. I remember when I had sex the first time, I had to get away from the girl, but she was staying the night at my house. So I literally slept on the floor until I felt claustrophobic, and I had to go visit a friend and talk about why is sex not okay unless you're married. It's just, but I needed space. And every woman who knows, when you have sex with a guy, particularly a guy that you don't have an intimate relationship with, he's going to want space for a while.
Yes.
But then why isn't he calling me back? Why doesn't he want to talk more? It's a big issue. And why is he ignoring me? Well, when a man goes to his cave, and every woman who read my book, that I know of, they'll come to me and say, thank you for that chapter on the cave. Because
I now understand. Yes.
Now I understand. It's not about, I don't have to take it personally.
Yes.
He needs that time to pull away. So that was a basic concept. Another basic concept is men don't understand women, because women communicate just like men to solve problems, because she has a male side, right? But sometimes she wants to communicate, not necessarily to solve a problem, but just to connect with her partner. You're all day long over here, you don't want to live such separate lives. So she feels, I want you to know what happened today. I want you to be a part of my life. So she'll share a part of her life. So she feels connection. So she'll want to talk. Sometimes women are kind of bothered and upset, and they don't really know exactly what's upsetting them. And so they'll talk about this and talk about this and talk about this. Then they realize, oh, this is what's bothering me. And now I can let it go. So talking is really what goes on in therapy, is that women are talking to sort of sort things out. You can sort it out. It's kind of like having a big purse, and you open everything up to see what's in there. You can throw away things you don't need anymore and put it all back into the purse. So that's another reason women talk. Another reason women talk is literally it just lowers her stress level. And I think in some traditions it's called venting, others it's kvetching, just expressing without having to make sense. I just want to share what's inside. And some forms of therapy encourage that as well.
Yes.
Now, why does that work? Well, now we know with women, if you just sort of say whatever you're feeling without thinking about, is it my fault? Is it their fault? Without analyzing, no analysis, just exploring what it is you're feeling, or journaling, whatever you're feeling, just let it be expressed. Express what you're feeling. If you're a woman and your estrogen levels are low, that will raise your estrogen. And so whenever you're stressed, if you just talk about what you feel, estrogen levels go up. If you do something to solve a problem, take action, your testosterone levels go up. So when women are stressed, what they need to do quite often is take some time to talk about what they're feeling, because what they're feeling is there's all these problems. I need to talk about them. But if women don't have the safety or the knowledge of how to explore and talk about feelings, or somebody who would understand, or even for them to not judge themselves for having these feelings and not suppressing them, if they suppress it, what they do is, in order to suppress it and not feel that, they're going to go out and try and solve those problems. They're going to go to their male side. If you go to your male side, you forget your female problems temporarily, but you feel overwhelmed because your female side is missing something. So she'll talk just to feel better. And
Right.
why does she feel better? Well, biologically, just talking about problems with somebody who listens, who's not judging you, makes you feel very safe. When you feel very safe to be yourself, I'm not going to be judged.
You're self-regulating, isn't it?
It's what? So liberated. Yes, you feel
Yeah.
safe. Well, the
Yeah.
hormone that gets produced when you feel safe is oxytocin. Just be able to say what you feel is oxytocin. And when you feel safe, you relax. Then you feel I can depend on someone in my life to get support. It's hard to feel I can depend on you in order to get support if I don't feel safe with you. So I can't depend on you. See, I don't trust you. I don't feel safe, then I can't depend on you. But if I feel safe, then I can depend on you. And my estrogen levels will start to go up if I have the communication skills in order to ask for what I need and get support. Then I don't end up talking about my problems and feeling like a victim. But a lot of times women go to the therapist and nothing changes in their relationships, because the therapist is more of a counselor who doesn't understand men and women are different.
Right.
So if you have a counselor who doesn't understand men are different or women, your wife feels he doesn't love me because he goes out and he drinks with his friends one night a week or 2 nights a week. What's wrong with that? As long as you're not coming back negative, he needs time to go fishing with the guys. You have to have, a big testosterone stimulator, ironically, could be going to the gym, but it's also it's competing. It's can be meditating. That's another one. That's my major one, which is I'm more the body type that meditates. I can just forget all my problems that way. I can just my meditation technique. Or fishing. I mean, I remember still as a young boy, probably 14 years old, the first time I ever went fishing with a grown man. It wasn't my dad. He wasn't a fisher, but it was my friend's dad. And we were in a boat and we didn't talk for maybe an hour and a half. I felt like it was some kind of spiritual experience I had. We just fished. We didn't have to talk. And he was quite content to fish. And I was learning how to do this fishing thing. And we're sitting in a boat and very quiet. And I didn't know why. I felt like I went to heaven. And it just did, wow, this really feels good. And I didn't even know it was what was making me feel good. I just had a kind of what's often called satori in spiritual words, which temporary glimpse of enlightenment. And now you put a woman in that boat. For most women, they're going to, what are you thinking? And, and my husband's not talking to me. What about him?
Right.
Not to say women can't enjoy fishing, because particularly women today, they are more connected to their masculine side. And so they do make testosterone. It's a part of their self-esteem. And working, they run out of testosterone. So meditation or hobbies can also be very good to her. But she has to realize you're not going to get the full satori experience unless you have a friend and you can talk about what you feel and what you think and what you don't feel safe about. The talking is a very big thing. And the evidence of that is 90% of the people who get talk therapy, they go and they just talk to a therapist about what's going on in their life. Nothing necessarily changes, but they feel better because the estrogen goes up. But then they come back out into a world which is the same, as opposed to after the estrogen goes up, your stress goes down. Let's try to understand that interpret the world in a different way, interpret your husband in a different way. And for a man, I just have to tell him, look, every man who's read my book, they always come up to me and they say, thanks for telling me. I just need to listen to her. I don't have to fix anything. We're always wanting to fix stuff. It's much easier to make a woman happy. Stop trying to fix everything. Stop trying to change her, but actually validate where she's coming from. You don't have to agree with it. You can empathize with what she's experiencing emotionally. So there's two examples of Men Are From Mars that change people's lives. One of the other ideas of Mars Venus is the idea that on Venus, every act of love, big or small, has the same effect. And men don't know that. They think do something big, 24 roses, estrogen is going to go up, it's going to stay up. Nope, it comes back down soon. Like the flowers will wilt. They're a good symbol. So if you want the same effect, you can give one rose, estrogen is going to go up. And then estrogen, one rose again, you can get 21 roses at separate times and get more estrogen. So it's lots of little details of expressing affection and warmth and empathy. And if she's in a bad mood, asking her questions, help me understand that better, get her to talk. Every sentence is like a little surge of estrogen building up. Help me understand that better. Well, tell me more about that. And what else? Speak less, ask more questions. And her estrogen levels have a chance to rebuild after a stressful day at work where nobody was really caring so much about her because she was caring about everybody else. See, that's the dynamic of the workplace. It's very masculine. It's selflessness, like the soldier who goes to war, the guy who works hard, does the dirty, dangerous, difficult, and disgusting jobs in order to make the money. He doesn't complain because he's going to get rewarded for it because his wife is going to appreciate that he does that. But one of the challenges today is she's also out there doing dirty, dangerous, difficult, and disgusting. So he doesn't get that many points for it. So it's kind of like, well, yeah, you're doing it, but I'm doing it too. So you have to compensate for that. And that's why romance, these little things I was just mentioning, such a very, very important thing. Women need this. Men don't know how to do it because their fathers didn't do it.
Thank you so much, John. It sounds so simple, really, when you think about it. I mean, it's such a beautiful blueprint on relationships. And I love the fact that you talk about stress, which is obviously made by our nervous system. We perceive it there, and how it then suppresses our endocrine system. And you explore it through the hormonal changes. Is this backed up by science, by neuroscience?
Yes, it's very simple stuff.
Yes.
It doesn't have to get so complicated. You can just go and look at what are the testosterone levels, what are the estrogen levels of a woman when she's happy and healthy, and what are the estrogen levels of a woman when she's stressed, and they drop. And for men, what are the testosterone levels of a man when he feels good about himself? They're here 10 times more than a woman's. And when he's stressed, where are they? They're very low. And this works with health as well. You know, stress is very much involved with your health. And for a man, any man who has a heart attack, his testosterone levels are very low and his estrogen is very high. And that's called retirement. That's when men have heart attacks. Insurance companies talk about if you actually retire and stop working altogether and watch TV or just play golf, your testosterone levels are really low. Within 3 years, you'll have a heart attack. But if you certainly can have an easier life because you've made more money, you've established yourself, and you can have more time for yourself. But ideally, that time is activities where, just like you went to work, there will be activities where you're doing something meaningful. So even for me now, although I work a lot, but I still, with my daughters, I help them and I help their children, my grandchildren. I do a lot to help the grandchildren, but I have to also see that's more estrogen stimulating though. It's a little testosterone because they need me and it's a job, but I
Right.
have to have activity separate from my family and my children. We're in personal situations where I'm not married to them, they're not blood, they're not family, but I'm actually actually helping them. And I also have to have places where I'm competing. That's a very big testosterone producer. So that would be having still some sports with my friends or whatever, some activity where I'm competing with others.
I absolutely love it. So I've been in this field for 2 decades, and I haven't really looked at it this way, but it does make sense. And I feel that in a way, if you look at relationships through these lenses, it will make it much easier for you to understand attachment issues, tendencies to codependency and clinging, and all sorts of other things around boundaries, maybe sometimes they would be very easily, dissolved and eliminated.
Oh,
So
so
that will
much.
simplify life, isn't
Yes,
it?
yes. Let's just say a woman who has only a little bit of an insecure attachment, right? We know insecure
Right.
attachment. Somebody pulls away, you want to run after them. But
Yes.
now your husband pulls away, you realize, oh my God, he's not leaving me. He just needs to do that, and then he'll spring back. And
Yes.
if a man could understand, what is it? The resistant attachment, which is if somebody comes at you, you want to avoid intimacy. So if he's spending time with his partner, then he needs to pull away for a while. When a man goes on a vacation with his wife, he's with her there all the time. She'll notice he's ignoring me for 3 days. That's because he needs to pull back into his world after being with you for so long. And she would feel like, oh, he's pulling away. That would activate any insecure attachment she has. And she would think he's having some kind of resistant attachment. I can't take intimacy. No, it's biologically natural and normal for
Absolutely.
close and pull away. Otherwise, they would just get stuck on their wives and never go out and work. It's a good thing. It makes me go out and do the dirty, dangerous, and difficult thing. And the irony is we like it. Men want to go out and do that. When I see these guys who are like on the Joe Rogan show, because he's a outdoorsman and he's also a comedian, which, by the way, when you're very, very masculine, you make jokes about things that other people take too seriously. It's good for comedy. I'm a very funny guy too, as I built my masculine energy up. But he goes hunting and kills things, and he interviews these guys who, a lot of testosterone guys. And you see, depending on your body type, you need to make more testosterone if you're a man. I don't have to make so much because I don't have the mesomorph body type. I have the ectomorph body type. So I don't have as many muscle cells. But when you're born with more muscle cells, you have to do these more adventure things. You have to do these risky
Yes.
things. And you see these guys who'll say, I get up every day at 4 o'clock in the morning and I do a 5-mile run. And Joe says to him, do you like that? I hate it. I hate it. But afterwards, I feel alive, and then
Yeah.
the guys and Joe and all the other guys. I did it as a monk, by the way. I did ice water. For a monk, I was just developing my masculinity then when I was celibate, a monk. You're sitting around meditating all the time. I had to balance that with not running, but for me, it was getting into a freezing cold during the winter, getting into a freezing cold bathtub, and doing ice therapy. Well, that's what these guys do. They get in yes, I can do it. I can endure it. I breathe. I feel powerful. This is discipline, not letting your feelings control you. Women need to do things that are easy and fun and enjoyable. Let you do what you feel as long as it's productive. That's your estrogen. But for testosterone, if life gets easy, it goes down. You become weak. You get pouty. You get irritable. You can't make commitment. You don't follow through. You do what you like. You do what you enjoy doing. See, it's a balance. Then you get to the place of real maturity. And this is our goal for all of us today. This is what's possible. It wasn't possible in previous generations. But I can be full-on workaholic and love every moment of it. And I love also my family and my children. And I take time for them. I'm enjoying myself. I'm happy. See, happy is your female side. Power is your masculine side. And you can be powerful and happy at the same time.
Right. So beautiful. Thank you so much for this. It's just mind-blowing. What's been your learning, the most important, let's say 3 important learnings from your time as a monk?
Oh, my time as a monk. Well, that's when I was younger. My learning then was discipline. If I
Right.
say I'm going to do something, I feel and do it, I feel good. If I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it, I feel bad. That's a major reason why men have stress. They say they're going to do something and they don't follow through. That's why
So
commitment
discipline is big.
big, very big.
Right.
Analysis is big. Also, at any age, this is when I'm young as a monk. It's self inquiry. If I'm upset, what's making me upset, and self correct. You cannot be upset unless you're believing a lie. So I have to go. What am I thinking? Let's say I'm giving an interview a long time ago. My first interview I did had all this anxiety, and I said, okay, what am I telling myself? Because if it's making me feel anxious, it's all a lie. Because when you tell yourself the truth, you feel great. The truth is we're all good enough, we're worthy, we deserve, we can always have more, we're capable, we're lovable, we're strong. These are all truths. These are your affirmations of truth. Now, they if you're connected with who you are, they work. If you're way over here, sometimes you have to do a little process to get back. In that case, for me, and when at that time in my life, is like, what am I telling myself? I'm too young. I'm not capable. I'm not experienced. They'll see that. They won't think I'm good enough. They'll think I look too young. I won't know what to say. I might say the wrong thing. I might upset people. These are all the things I'm telling myself. So I listen to, okay, what am I telling myself? And I say, okay, that's true. That's what you're telling me. But do I know that to be absolutely true? No, I don't know any of that to be absolutely true, because you can't know absolutely the future. So what could be true? What could be true is I do a good job. I have a fun time. I answer all the questions. It turns out okay. Now use my imagination. Well, if that did happen, how would it make me feel? Oh, I'd be so happy. I'd be so relaxed. I'd feel good enough. Well, now you're back to the truth. I found my way back to the truth, because when you actually say the truth, it sticks. If you first listen to the other part of you, you have to listen to both parts of you. There's an old saying that we all have these two monkeys on us. One's telling us negative things, one's telling us bad things. Well, who gets through? Who lasts the longest? The one you feed the most. Who has
Yes.
the power over you? So don't
Yeah.
give a lot of power to it, but don't ignore it. Don't suppress it. Don't pretend like it's not there. Because if you're feeling anxious or unhappy, you're telling yourself something bad.
And it's a personal choice we're making, and it comes out of conscious awareness. So you're talking about discipline, you're talking about being
Definitely.
open to self-discovery, getting to know yourself, and then staying true to your values. It's amazing. Let's move briefly towards another very important book of yours. You wrote about what our mothers could not tell us and what our fathers did not know.
Did
Can you
not know.
expand a little bit on this?
Well, first of all, somebody just recently said that was their favorite of my books. That was fun to hear, because I wrote that a
Yes.
long time ago. Men Are from Mars was way more popular than that book.
Yes.
That was, in a sense, the advanced techniques to Men Are from Mars, take it to the next level. Most people didn't feel the need to go to the next level. They got so much benefit from Men Are from Mars, and our tendency is always to go what's easy. But what your mother couldn't tell you is she didn't know the differences between men and women.
Right.
And her wisdom was wisdom at a time where the main wisdom women had then was pick the right guy who can provide for you. That was pretty much it. Now you can provide for yourself, so it's not as important. It's important, but the guy who's going to support you and also providing for yourself.
Right.
And then having the communication skills that your father didn't know when a woman's unhappy. And what do? You have to get her to make it safe for her to express her feelings and listen to her feelings. And your father didn't know that because he didn't need to know that. My dad just had to be a good communicator and be not so messy and somewhat of a gentleman. A few romantic, very few open the car door, don't get mad at a woman, never even think of hurting a woman, like hitting her. Like, this was so unmanly. You know why men hit women today? Because they're not on their male side. They've been feminized. I've teaching the murderers, the killers, the rapists in San Quentin, the prison right 20 minutes from my house. I taught over there. These guys all missed a father. They didn't have father figures. They had unhappy mothers. How can a mother be happy when it takes two to make a baby? And usually these are really sad stories, all these people, but the fathers were dysfunctional and the mothers were dysfunctional. It's a reality. A child grows up in that situation. They don't have a role model. Boys need a role model. Without that, and girls need a mother role model, but they also need a father to learn to trust men. So they literally don't understand that. Yeah, dad ignores them sometimes because he's busy watching TV. It doesn't mean he doesn't love you, because that same father is going to come back and be so loving to you. And they go away all day at work, but they come back. That's the major lesson. When you have mother at home, father going and coming, a child learns there's always safety. Mother's there. And the father comes and goes, but he always comes back. It's a very important understanding. My wife says he goes to his cave, but he always comes back. In the beginning, I used to say, look, I just need some me time. I just need to think about what we're saying, because I started to get angry and argue. That doesn't work, to raise your voice. That never works. So I just say, I need to think about this. I'll be back. And I would come back. Sometimes I even say 2 hours. I'll be back. We can continue this conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much for adding on that parenting advice. Let's move in the area of love and relationships. So how is love on Mars and Venus, and your best advice on dating and intimacy?
I think the best advice is have a picture. Men and women are different. And primarily what's so important to produce estrogen in a woman is to give messages that you care about her. Now, what I mean by that, most men care about their cars. That's where they feel the most empathy. If somebody scratched my car, like, oh, it's like, well, that's
it
empathy.
hurts. It hurts.
It hurts inside. Yes. That my car has been scratched.
Yeah.
So that's empathy. When your partner is unhappy or stressed or whatever, feel empathy and want to help her. Okay, so that's prioritizing. I care about you. And men don't know how, they do care about their wives. They don't know how to show it. Yeah. You know, it's like learning that when she's talking, realize if you're not listening, it hurts her feelings. It's like talking to an audience and everybody's looking at their own, on their phones. It would be a bummer for me. So the same thing, if she's talking, take a few minutes to just focus on asking questions. And men don't know what questions to ask. They just think I'm supposed to solve the problem, get to the point. I'll tell you what I think. But no, when you understand women, again, for me, all the answers come by understanding. And then the solutions are pretty easy to figure out on your own, but I give them some suggestions. And one good suggestion is when you're listening, engage, help her feel engaged. And so you say, help me understand that better. Tell me more about that. And what else? And don't offer her solutions. And even after she's finished talking, sometimes you feel like you want to tell her, well, don't be upset about this, and you should do this about that. And why would you bother with it? Don't say those things. She's quite grown up. She can figure it out herself. Just say to her these words. And again, these are helpful things I've learned to say, and you can pick them up like that. If you just read my books, they're like right there. Just look at her and just say, you give so much to so many people. Let me give you a hug. And she'll melt in your arms. She's been validated. Her stress just melts away with that kind of a message, rather than telling her why she's wrong for being upset. That's what men are all about. Well, if you're upset, what are you thinking, feeling, or doing that's wrong? No, she's doing what's right for her. She's talking about her feelings. Validate the feelings she has, and just don't feel like you have to be a parent to her and fix everything for her. She's quite capable of doing it herself.
Okay, so let's go back a little bit.
I'll go through them now quickly. So that's understanding the three things that raise estrogen is when I'm behaving in a way that says I prioritize her, I care about her. You want to really touch her heart when you're committed to her. She's the most important woman in your life, period. No longer your mother, no longer your daughter, your wife is number one. I care most about her. Okay, so she's going to get that message that she's special. That's a big estrogen producer. You know, it's like if you give her a birthday party, I'm special. Estrogen shoots up. Just like when a man comes home and John's here, he'll fix it. His testosterone shoots up and he gets the message that he's needed. That means you trust him. You can rely on him. Big testosterone producer. So imagine if I show I care, women naturally trust me more. And if women trust men, we naturally will care more about you. If you don't ask for help, why would I be motivated to give to you? So women have to learn how to depend on a man, trust him enough to ask for help. He's not going to see you as weak. He's actually turned on to a woman who needs his help. Women think, well, won't he think I'm just weak and needy? No, if you ask, if you say you should do more, that's another kind of needy. Men don't like that, but you ask for help and appreciate what he can provide. So trust, to ask, acceptance when he's not perfect, and appreciation for when he provides something meaningful. These produce testosterone. Now, on the other, and women say, well, I want to be appreciated. Good. It will increase your testosterone. It's not going to lower your stress. What's going to lower your stress is estrogen. What you need is to feel messages from him that says he cares. Second, you need messages from him that says he understands, he validates, he listens, he's inside of you. You see, for women, it's like, come on in me. I'm not going to let you in unless you care about me. So I'm like, be delicate with me or be respectful. And that's the third. Show me you care, you understand, and you respect. Women, so many books say respect men, respect men. No, women are always going to respect men. What men have to learn is how to respect women. And women, that's what I'm saying. Men, if you want a woman to fall in love with you and be happy with you, respect her. Take the time to hear her, demonstrate for her the ways that you care about her. And that's called respecting her. She's different. And honoring her. When I respect the law, I follow the law. If I don't respect the law, I don't follow the law. I just do what I want. So positive sacrifice is one of the best things you can do to make a woman feel special. And what I mean by positive is I make sacrifices, but I'm not going to complain about it. I want to do it because my priority is her. So that in a big picture summarizes a lot of what I write about in Men Are From Mars, is understanding the ways a man can show a woman you care, you understand, and you respect. And for women, ways to demonstrate to a man that you trust, you accept, and you appreciate. How do you accept and give him messages that you accept? Another magic $50 million word. If you have a complaint, before you have a complaint, you just say, this is not really a big deal, but I would really love if you would do this next time. Drop it. That's like a pin drop. He listens to that. If you have a quiet room, you can hear anything. Noisy room, you don't hear anything. He'll never hear you if you raise your voice and complain and you're negative and tell him what he does wrong. It's a communication skill. It's not a big deal. But what I would like is this. Next time, would you do that? I'd appreciate it. Boom. But what women have been taught this. This is like new knowledge, new language. We don't know this stuff because you didn't need it in previous generations because you had men already knew what to do. What do you do to make a woman happy? Make money. Don't hit her. You got a happy wife. It was simple then. And now you got to do a lot more because she can make money. And so it's a big, big difference.
It is. It's about making a request, not an accusation, taking the time to be there. Respect, it's so simple, really. You're right. Very beautifully conceptualized. What about relational trauma? When we have conflict, when we have betrayal between Mars and Venus, what are we doing? Can we restore it? Shall we start over or not? What's going on there?
Well, first of all, when I say if you have a complaint, it's not a big deal. But if you have abuse, it is a big deal. And once you have abuse, you can't solve it. That's where you need help. Clearly, your communication skills aren't working. You don't have the skill of stopping escalation. And when a man is abusive or a woman is abusive, both do not have the skill. You see, it's never one-sided. And the way you move on from abuse is to recognize you played a part. If you can't see your part in the abuse you think you received or you did receive, if you can't see your part in escalating that, then what happens is you feel powerless in the future and you won't open your heart again. You have to recognize to move on, whether you're in a relationship, to start again in the relationship, or if somebody's not able to get beyond their escalating abusive self, then you move on. But you won't find somebody you'll get the same sort of thing unless you realize, what part did I play in the abuse that I received? And there's always two sides to it. And without an understanding of men and women do not know how they provoke violence in men. Men do not know how they provoke rejection from women and negativity out of a woman. What happens is a woman gets upset about something. He tries to fix it. Because he's doing the wrong thing, it makes her more upset. As she gets more upset, he tries again to fix it. When he can't fix it, he's out of control. His estrogen levels go up, his testosterone goes down, and he's out of control. He's in anger, and he's in defensiveness, fear. And that's called escalation. And the more he talks in that state, the more he loses control. And the more she asks questions, often women have no idea that they keep asking questions. Why don't you love me? Why do you do
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you ask a man questions, he will talk. And if he has any slight bit of anger inside of him, it will only get worse because you ask questions. Why do you talk to me that way? Why do you do that to me? How could you say you love me? Why didn't you do this? You didn't call me. You didn't do this. Why didn't you call me? All that questioning is provoking the worst in him. And just as him telling you what's wrong with you, saying negative things about you, it is provoking you to go to your out of control place. So all you can do, if you can try to reduce abuse in your life, is make sure that you can have when you're in the loving place in the beginning, you set standards that anytime anybody starts to raise their voice, time out, walk into different rooms. He walks into a room to do the things that produce testosterone. She goes and talks to her girlfriends, her coach, her therapist, her journal, prays to God, whatever it is, she has to express herself to somebody who's not going to resist her. But trying to expect him to listen to you when what's coming out of you is rejection, or it's going to sound like rejection to him, he can't hear. His estrogen
Right.
will go. It's
What
just like,
about betrayal? What about cases where people really handle terrible, terrible relational challenges?
and what's the question?
What shall we do about it?
Oh, well, you had trauma in the past. Usually a good separation for a while, talking to a therapist, healing your wounds, talking about them, being able to fully forgive. A great phrase is, I forgive my partner for the ways he knowingly, unknowingly hurt me. I ask for his forgiveness. Please forgive me for the ways I've knowingly and unknowingly hurt you. Because you don't have increasing intensification if two people aren't doing it. And one way, let's say the one person is a total victim and the other one is total bad. Well, how did you participate in that? You picked them, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you didn't you? And
It's your karma.
there was warning signs long before it became impossible to leave.
It's part of your working with yourself. It's part of your journey, isn't it?
Yes. And that is part of your journey to can you wake up and stop realizing and stop moving from I'm a victim, repeating that same pattern over and over, to next level is to repeat, is your partner will still have tendencies, who you're attracted to will still have those potentials to be that awful person, but they also have the potential to be this really good person as you change your communication skill. Then you'll be in a relationship. The third level up is generally the people who read my book, Men Are From Mars, who are most drawn to it. They don't have to really change much about their partner or themselves. They just have to understand and realize that what they thought was abusive behavior is not abusive behavior. That's the illusion. He goes to his cave. He's not abusing you. And then he doesn't come out of the cave because you keep thinking he's abusing you. So he has to keep getting away from you. So that's where you can see how I am creating the problem by making a big deal out of the problem, which is not a problem. There's so many things. If you give a man a lot of space, he comes out and he's much more generous and giving than if you get clingy and hold on to him or make him wrong for going to the cave. And my wife, if she's being negative and expressing complaints and irritability, whatever, she's having a bad day, I don't react to it. I listen, I say, help me understand it better. Because in my mind, I know she's going to come back to feeling her love. Her estrogen will go up. Without that knowledge, it's not a big deal. See, in my world, it's not a big deal. She's upset. It's like a child. I know exactly how to handle them. And I don't give them ice cream. I listen to them. I just have to listen to her, understand where she's coming from, sincerely do it, and her estrogen will go up. And then suddenly she's no longer so upset with me. Not only is she not upset, she's appreciating me more. She's trusting me more. And she accepts me even when I'm not so perfect. She forgives it quite easily. So this is the skills that I teach that nobody has. And nowhere do they teach them in universities. And only a small sliver of therapists understand this stuff. Most of them have been indoctrinated by what they learned in the schools, which is that we need to all be the same. And that would be another answer to your question, which is why we end up, becoming so much the same, because this is a problem today. It's because we want equality, but equality doesn't mean sameness.
Wow, voila. Yes, because I wanted to explore a bit more, the dark side of feminism, but we're not going to have time today. Also,
well, that is the dark side. They want equality. These are the feminists who are born in a situation where the man was dysfunctional. That's all they know, is that men have abused my mother. My mother's a victim. We're oppressed. And there are certain cultures where, as we moved into this age of people having more than others, like India, their whole culture can be very abusive to women, and particularly more abusive. You see, it becomes more abusive when women try to be men. And then men feel you're competing with us. So the more you compete with men, unless they understand how to help a woman be happy, men are going to fight that. And then abuse has increased as women have tried to become men, because they lose their power of love. The power of love is what brings out the best in men, and women have that power. The true empowerment of women is not being like men. A little bit. The power of femininity is the power of love that motivates others to take care of you. You're the queen. Other people do things for you. That's real power. Do you want to be the soldier who has to get out there and do everything? Or would you rather be the queen who the soldier kneels to and says, I will fight this battle for you? That's what marriage is. The man kneels to the woman. He stops kneeling when she starts complaining too much. She stops complaining because he stops kneeling. It goes back both sides. But the dark side of feminism is if a woman, it's women who actually hate themselves. You see, they don't see the value in femininity because their mothers were victims because they had abusive fathers. So I'm not going to be like my mother. I'm not going to be a victim. I'm going to be a man. But to be a man is to disown yourself. And that was the dark side of feminism.
Yes, you're not true to yourself. It's not natural. It's not part of who you are. So beautiful. Now, what is beyond Mars and Venus? I know this is the title of your recent book. I'm reckoning that maybe the past 3 decades have allowed you to refine a little bit your message. I'd love to hear from this.
Okay, my message is the same. If you're in a traditional relationship, I can't improve on Men Are From Mars. What I can do is realize that the culture has changed. It's become very dysfunctional culture we live in. As women are encouraged to be like men, men are encouraged to be like women. My book, Beyond Mars and Venus, is how to have relationships succeed that no longer have traditional male and female roles. So if we don't have those traditional roles, then what can we do to have the connection so you can have polarity of men being attracted to female? The more you're like someone, the less attraction there's going to be. We're naturally born with more testosterone, more estrogen. Men lose interest in sex with their partners when their testosterone goes down. It's as simple as that. Does my wife turn me on or does she not? And what turns me on is femininity. It's like for an immature male, a naked woman's body, she's revealing, she's being vulnerable, raises testosterone. A more mature woman in the world today, particularly if she's on her male side, she can't get back to her female side. She can't get naked. She can physically get naked, but emotionally naked. She doesn't want to share what's going on.
Yeah.
So learning to communicate your vulnerability in a relationship will keep a man attracted to you always. And no one teaches this either. What people know is that newness. So go on a new vacation, wear some new clothes, try some new outfit. Hey, bring in some more new partners. Hey, bring in some toys, bring in some vibrators, bring in some bells and whistles. That's all nonsense. It's like, do you depend on each other? I have lasting passion, fantastic sex, attraction like you cannot believe. Most people cannot believe because they lose it over time. Regular great sex in my marriage of 34 years, and now still regular great sex now. We don't need anything else. We have each other. Why? We don't depend on new and different. See, all relationships start out with new and different, produces a huge amount of dopamine, excitement. Now, what that dopamine does is it raises testosterone in men, raises estrogen in women. Now you have polarity. You get free polarity. But then our relationship skills, our lifestyle do not support polarity. So if you have roles that don't produce polarity, you can create emotional dynamics where she can be emotionally vulnerable and he can be able to provide safety and security and caring and understanding and respect for her emotions. And that will raise her estrogen huge. So that's the new tech. The whole book is understanding the faces, the role reversal we're in, and how we can use the same techniques, many of the same techniques in Men Are From Mars to bring us back. But we have to make women aware that the reason they're unhappy is they're not on their female side, and how to get to their female side without having to become old-fashioned like their mother. They can still be modern if they have a new way of communicating their vulnerability. And then you don't depend on newness to stimulate your hormones, just simply polarity of I'm more masculine than you and you're more emotional than me. Sometimes you're like a little crazy, but I'm very smart and analytical, and I'm able to validate. Instead of invalidate your emotions, I can validate your emotions. You've had a hard day. You were thinking this, or you're not getting enough from me. Let me give you more of this. See, it's all once you understand the chess game, you know the rules of the players, you can win. Both can win. That's the beautiful thing. And so polarity is like a magnet, a positive pole and a negative pole. You don't notice so much attraction when they're apart, but when they get close and I'm more masculine, she's more feminine, it's like, and that's passion, that's desire. So you need to have, you won't feel the benefits of polarity, because when I click, I just want to kneel down before her and love her and give my life for her. And she feels so grateful and so happy and so in love and so ecstatic. That's when you get really close. So you got to have this time when nobody's around and you're naked together. And that's where you make love. And that charges up the attraction again. And it charges up the dedication and the commitment we have towards each other. Without making love, couples just sort of become friends and family. That's okay. That's a lot of people. That's all people had in the past. That was, was okay. But today we want more. We tend to be dissatisfied when we don't have it. And very few people teach you how to find it naturally without all the games and whistles and Viagra and the toys and the pornography. This is all stupid stuff. And we're all addicted to it because it produces dopamine, as opposed to love. Love is the answer, and selflessness is the answer. Have both together. Attachment and detachment together. Freedom and attachment.
That's amazing. You are amazing, John. I could listen to you for hours.
I know. I could talk for hours.
I know. We need to do it again. I have so many other questions. Where can people find out more about your books, order them, maybe see what else you've written about? Just let them know.
Okay, so just go to marsvenus.com, and there's hundreds of blogs and videos with me and my daughter. If you're having challenges in sex, I would suggest you take one of my sex courses, Secrets of Great Sex. Those you charge for. They're whole, exercises. It's several weeks to get through the whole thing. It's all done online. And then there's one for women only called Understanding Men. Very, very important for women to listen to if they're single, and if you're in a couple relationship, they could do it together. I highly recommend those. There's some other courses as well, how to bring out the best. I do one called How to Bring Out the Best in Your Partner. And I kind of touched on that today, give messages that show her that she's the priority, and give him messages that he's good enough and he makes a difference in your life. So they're all powerful courses, but if you don't have any money, you just get all the free stuff. It's right there. And then you get more with the packages. marsvenus.com. If you forget that, John Gray, Mars Venus, TED Talk. I recommend everybody go to my TED Talk as well. It's called Mars Brain, Venus Brain. It's very funny. If you want to get your partner involved with this, if you're a woman, just say, let's watch this funny comedian and just let him hear me. It's so funny. And then read the reviews. Also, after, you just see thousands of reviews of men saying, this is the smartest thing I've ever heard. Why don't people know this? Women saying, oh my God, I love this. I love this. I love this. Why don't people teach this? It's just not around, and they don't teach it in the universities. It's not acceptable. I have been banned from national TV for 25 years. I used to be on every every show there was, and I was the first to be canceled. In America, we have this cancel culture. Well, for me, it happened 22 years ago. I was on Oprah shows all the time, Today Show all the time, Fox News, every single show, they canceled me.
What's the reason for that?
Because why are they canceling people today? It's not the narrative. There's a narrative.
Okay. It's not the current narrative. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And gender differences is sexist. So I'm considered a sexist by some, a hero by others.
Mm-hmm. I don't think you are understood, because
of course,
the trends today go in a different direction. I can now see why. Yeah.
Yeah. And behind their movement and behind feminism and even the dark side of feminism, it's really like, hey, we all deserve equal, but equal does not mean the same. It's just a reality. Everybody's different. You can't say we all have to be the same. We don't have to think the same. And what I do is point out how, in general terms, what people are thinking when they're stressed, and what men are thinking, what women are thinking. And here's another way of thinking or relating or doing that will lower your stress. And what's good for women is not always good for men. What's good for men is not always good for women. And any doctor of the body knows that. Okay, biologically, we
are different. Yes.
Physically, we're so different as far as medicine goes. One drug is not going to work for a man. One woman's issue is very different. Heart attack for a woman, its symptoms are very different for a woman than they are for a man. And of course, for women, 90% of the people with osteoporosis are women. How many men have bloating during their period? What do you do for that? Women are way more tendency to have constipation. Why? They're magnesium deficient. Why? Because they're under higher stress, and stress runs your magnesium out. So you have to recognize for the medicine, but also for relationships, you have to understand differences, and you make generalizations, and then you come into little exceptions here and there. But there's a difference. There's furniture, and there's something called couches, and there's something called chairs. Okay, they're all furniture, but there's differences in furniture.
Yeah, true.
All right, so I
But
got to
there's
run.
no doubt there are physiological differences between men and women, and there are psychological differences. Thank you so much, John. I feel that you brought your wisdom here in this space, and hopefully the audience will learn something very valuable, and they will look at relationships from a completely different angle. I absolutely admire your passion. I admire your knowledge. I look up at you, and I thank you so much for bringing all of your wisdom for decades. You see, you've invested your entire life, you dedicated your life to understanding this, and it's very valuable. I'm a professional myself, and I understand this, and I thank you so much for taking the time to be here. Hopefully we can continue, because I have many other questions.
Okay,
Many
have me
thanks.
go there. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.